Hello. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday. We've got some interesting things to go through. I was looking more into technocracy and I actually had some other stuff I related to that I should have went through when I talked about the whole Greenland situation. But for some reason that totally slipped my mind when we were going through it. That always seems to happen on these live streams. Like like an hour or two after I sign off or a day later, I'll remember some important thing that was part of whatever we were looking into that I should have mentioned, but it happens. Um, yeah, so last night, well, before I get into that, I want to say that I got that video on the channel. The Cold War was World War III. It's my first long form video, and I'm gonna have a lot more of that coming. Hope probably at least once a month, but I have a ton of ideas. Really excited about getting that stuff out there. The channel is really small at this point, but I'm still really excited about how things have been going so far. Um, but yeah, today I got hit with a suspension or like a moderation on Twitter. I can read only because I guess I was getting too snarky on posts about that Jake Lang guy who got ran out of Minnesota, it seems. Last night on stream, I was pretty worried about that situation. We discovered it when we were looking through what was happening with the protests and everything. And this guy who was arrested after January 6th, apparently he was like leading the riots. He was supposed to have some march downtown where he was going to go through the Somalian communities and have a bunch of, you know, probably Proud Boy type people with him. And I was thinking that it might be a clash similar to what we saw in Charlottesville or something like that, but it ended up being nothing like that. Only like 10 showed up at most, and they pretty much got ran out of town. And he's trying to say that he was stabbed, but the whole thing was recorded, and I don't see anything like that. I do see him bleeding at one point, but there was like this massive crowd and there was a ton of shit going on. So it is possible, but for the most part he was getting hit with water balloons and stuff like that, which is, you're going to freeze your ass off in Minnesota if you get hit with some water balloons. And that infidel vest that he was wearing that I was making fun of last night, somebody got that as a trophy. Uh, so that did not go as planned for him. We'll check some of that out. The pictures I actually found to be even more interesting than the videos. Let's check this out. This this was when he got ran up in the side of a building. Um, oh yeah, thanks for checking out the channel and welcome. Um, yeah, this is he was trying to do something out front of City Hall and lead people through the Somalian community, and there was just a massive crowd, and there was nobody with him, and apparently he was expecting police support like they usually get, but the cops probably aren't trying to, the local cops anyway, probably had enough of this shit and they aren't trying to do that. So he got in some shit. Let's see what else we got. This was yeah, this was another part of the whole thing. I got a pretty good album here. I'll try to give credit to the photographers if they're posting from their own pages here. I think this is the photographer, Chris June. Let's see what we got. Yeah, like this was a massive, massive crowd. And this was the guy that we were watching yesterday who was out there with he was out there with the ICE officers basically pretending like he was leading them. I don't know if he's getting hit here or what's happening. I think that might have been their march. and the people on the other side of the barricades are the counter protesters. It definitely got pretty intense up front. Yeah, that vest ended up getting ripped off of him at some point, and people were posting on TikTok about it. They were hitting him with silly string. I mean, all in all, he was trying to instigate something to get Trump to, yeah, that's what Americans Against Islamification, that was the sign he was carrying around. Um, yeah, they were hitting him with water, but all in all, I don't think that there was that much force to be used for them to justify the Insurrection Act at all. So I don't think it was a mission accomplished for him. There's somebody with a water balloon, but he still called after the incident. He was trying to uh, talk it up as much as possible on his Twitter and trying to get Trump to, invoke the Insurrection Act. The National Guard has been called in, but they've been called in by the governor, and I think it's more. I don't think that. I don't know. We'll see. I have a video about them, about the cops maybe separating ICE from the protesters. So I'm not sure how this situation is going to work out, like between the um, law enforcement agencies. So yeah, I'm just catching up on the chat here. Yeah, I mean that is good. You did predict it for sure. I was definitely worried. So I'm glad it didn't turn out that bad. Um, and I think things are continuing tonight, but I think that the worst is the worst of the risky part is probably over with that. Because that was how things were gonna go down, as if there was like a straight up if there was a confrontation. Um, so this is video apparently of this same dude uh on January 6th. The guy in the gas mask. And he was apparently in jail, I guess, for the past couple years. Bro, he is like that's pretty wild, yo. No fear. Just getting maced. And the thing is he was like Zig Heiling out in front of this city hall. That was that was the thing that sparked a lot of the kind of aggression that he felt, you know what I mean? Like when people really went after him, I think that was one of the things that provoked him. And he was saying a bunch of wild shit too. And really trying to instigate. I was wondering about that too. Like, what are the damn that dude's bleeding? I think one of his people ran somebody over with a car. I'm not sure if they were hurt or what the situation is. I'm pretty sure I saved that video, so we'll check that out. Let's see if I can get. Oh,
where is your comment? Where is your comment? Where are your people? This is hilarious, dude. You can't make this shit up, dude. You cannot make up how few people showed. What are you guys so afraid of? Where are your people at? Where's your rally? Where's your march? Where are they? They don't even have any people. You don't even have a crowd. Oh, look at this guy. He just got out of prison a few months ago. Guaranteed. You can't make this shit up. Nobody should. There's more press here than you. This is hilarious. It's just crazy. Look at this. Oh, hey, here's the guy that was bear macing people and hey, why were you stealing people's megaphones? Bitch, see what happened? Oh, motherfucker! Look at you! Hey, you feel like a man spraying little ladies? You feel like a man spraying little girls because you're a punk ass little bitch spraying little girls with bear mace because you're a fucking coward. Why did you steal someone's megaphone? We have it on camera.
So let's check. See if there was anything else there. I know there was a couple of videos, so you could kind of see how that played out. Jake Lang, yeah, that's it. Yeah, they like just straight pushed him away into some, and people were trying to punch at his head and shit as he was walking away. This is a video of that thing. That is so wild, like how outnumbered he was. This was where they got his jacket. Look at it, or his vest.
Hey, I got a souvenir. Why the fuck I get his, man? What the fuck? I got the nigga vest. Hey.
That's how.
Hey, I got a souvenir. Ah, Jay, you know it was a good idea to do this shit. Ah, Jay, you know this is a good idea to do this shit. Oh, Jay!
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I see there's like a little bit of blood, but that looks like an intense situation for sure. I don't know. I guess that was snow on him, but like, I'm trying to find where he's going into the car. This man claimed he was a protester. Protesters thought he was a part of Jake Lang's crew. DHS came by and scooped him up. That's the other thing, is a lot of people are saying that this Jake Lang guy, in addition to being a crazy fascist, is also a Fed. Yeah, this is that part. Hold on.
Hey, stop. Wait, let them go.
At that point, they should just let him go, yeah. I feel like opening up the other side of the door and...
Y'all just let him leave. It's not working. Hey, stop. Hey, let him out.
Some people like lose their heads a little bit in the mob, you know? Because like at that point, you mission accomplished. Like you got him the fuck out of town. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. Open it up the other side. You might get a charge for that. This was a video of where they had him up on the corner.
Why so sad? What you heard in the sea when you see me go by. Why
the music is out of control that they got.
so sad? What you heard in the sea.
ridiculous. It reminds me of that guy that dresses up as the giraffe, the Robbie Roadster or whatever. I think that might have been all of them.
To 80 million Trump supporters, our president, and for the agenda to sweep our nation of these migrants. The violent migrant crisis is here. Minnesota is exactly what we want to avoid. It is going to be the next London. Minneapolis is London. Minneapolis is London. Minneapolis is London. The Muslims have taken over. The Muslims have taken over. They're stealing your children's future. They're stealing your children's future. This is not a white America, motherfucker. It is white.
Yeah, I agree. That they're definitely protesting in support of violence, and not only that, he is like 100% trying to instigate the Insurrection Act. So, you know, I think it was handled pretty well for the most part. Like,
America, baby. This is white boy winter. White boy winter. Let's go, white Americans. Crusade or be replaced. Crusade or be replaced.
it's always these fucking weirdos with like nothing else to be happy about. Like, I don't know. They're fucking
Go back, that's the APAC building right there. White Christian men are not going to sit around while you turn our children into a bunch of nigger lovers.
oh wow.
Where are we going?
Whoop.
Simple. I was just showing them the APAC building on my stream. But guys, we'll see you in Minnesota January 17th. Be there. If you guys are watching this and you're inspired, show up. We need
Well, yep, that's
your help.
that guy. So I got a video or two. I want to see how the mainstream media reacted to this. You know what I mean? Because that is going to determine, I think, what Trump is going to be able to get away with. So let's see here.
Mills Hayes. She's live in Minneapolis. We're going to check back in. Mills, it looks like quite an active scene out there. What's happening behind you?
Kelly, we did just see these officers come out in droves and march into the crowd. We saw at least 3 people arrested. One of them actually wearing a unicorn costume. And we haven't seen any less lethal ammunition like tear gas or pepper spray be deployed quite yet. But you can see that there are.
Yeah, I am sorry about that. I wasn't expecting that on like a short clip on Twitter from Ford Fisher, but you know, you got to document the psychos, I guess. Yeah.
Dozens, if not more than 40. Look, we got another arrest right there. If we can zoom in, that is 4 in total so far this morning. They do appear to be retreating. As you can see, those Homeland Security investigator police officers backing up, and it does not look like any tear gas or pepper spray was deployed. And when these people came out,
And yeah, you're right. That's the thing. They're not even pretending anymore. And that is a huge, huge part of this. Like for the longest time, it was like, at least in America, nobody believed that anybody was a Nazi unless they came out and said it. And even then, half of the time people would just be like, oh, they're just joking or whatever. So, but now they're just like out in the open about it. And, you know, and we're still being crazy saying that, you know, that's what it is.
when the federal officers came out, they started to go into the crowd of protesters, and we saw them take some of those people out. They have been telling people not to be in the street or to impede those officers. We have seen protesters out in the street, as you guys can see right now, but at the time we saw the large crowd of federal go in and confront protesters. There weren't really that many protesters in the street at that moment, but as you can see now, they are starting to get back into the street. And
so this is down at the Whipple building. going on pretty much at the same time as the Jake Lang's protest down by City Hall.
They are retreating.
And he was supposed to march from City Hall to the Somalia neighborhood with all of his supporters, and they didn't make it off the steps of City Hall. You saw how backed up against the wall he was.
At the moment, but this is more than 200 protesters that are on here on the scene, and we actually saw at least 2 federal officers on the very top of that federal building earlier as well. They're gone at this moment, but we did see them on top of the building here. And these protesters, a lot of them actually came from that rally that was happening earlier today in downtown Minneapolis, where we saw about a dozen anti-immigration protesters show up in downtown, and there were counter protests that were in support of immigration that came out as well. They largely numbers those anti-immigration protesters, and you can hear those protesters now, shame, shame, shame. But we continue to hear from DHS that they are here to make the community safer, and we have seen that they have arrested people here in the country that have been undocumented for convictions such as murder and rape, and they continue to post some of the worst online. News Nation spoke with Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino yesterday, saying that these protesters and rioters.
This is a fairly right-wing news source too, so yeah. I was curious what they were saying about the protests.
And even calling some of them anarchists, said that they are making it more difficult for them to do their job. We
How dare them anarchists?
know, too, that the Department of Justice is investigating the Minneapolis mayor as well as the Minnesota governor for allegedly impeding these operations. What we've heard from those Minnesota leaders is they have called on these protesters to film and document all of these ICE operations. And we did hear from Minnesota Representative Ilhan Omar yesterday saying that these people have a right to film and to observe and to follow these officers.
They should be, because look at what's happening. They've been lying about every situation they've been in. So you got to be filming them because, and since the shooting earlier this month, they've started to look at all these old cases, and the last year has been horrendous. There's been more incidences than we probably even know about, but we probably had at least like 50 deaths since he's taken office through ICE.
That DHS says it makes their operations dangerous, and saying that they've seen an increase of attack on officers as well. But these protesters, they've seen the videos, a lot of them follow ICE officers as well, and they've seen these operations take place where we have seen different protests and clashes between officers and protesters in the streets and the neighborhoods of Minneapolis as well, whenever they're doing these enforcement operations. And ICE observers go out there and watch, and they see what's going on, and they try to interfere, because that's the goal for a lot of these ICE observers, is to try to make these ICE officers and border.
Let's check out this one. This one hopefully gives us some information on how the local police are interacting with the federal ICE agents.
Changed quite a bit here on the ground outside this ICE facility in Minneapolis, especially because there's now Hennepin County Sheriff's vehicles that are blocking the road where we saw those clashes between officers and protesters, really preventing the protesters from getting onto the street. But you can still see that there are hundreds of people here with their signs, report suspicious captivity. Let me bring you guys back over here as well. Remember, this is all coming as the DHS says that this is the largest immigration crackdown in the history of America. And there still are people out here, despite it being 5 degrees outside. Feels like -10, by the way. And this all changing with the sheriff's office being here on the scene now, that they have been able to block this area and keep protesters off of the street. But Minnesota National Guard also on standby as well. And we did hear that the Department of Justice is now investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey. We spoke with some of the protesters here earlier who say that their state officials actually aren't doing enough.
He's going to do what he's going to do regardless. And there was a part of me that wasn't going to come out today because I was going to listen to our governor. But the governor and Mayor Jacob Frey have proven that they're not for the people. And I can't just sit at home.
Earlier, before we saw these sheriff officers come on scene, we saw at least 10 people arrested by federal officers. They came out and deployed pepper spray. We saw some of the volunteer medics actually helping those people who had been sprayed in the face as well. But earlier, we did see this scene kind of play out between officers and protesters. And then earlier in downtown Minneapolis, outside of City Hall, we saw an anti-immigration protest as well as an anti-Minnesota fraud protest. The guy who was leading that was arrested during the January 6th insurrection for attacking a police officer. He also was pardoned by President Trump. That was met by hundreds of people out supporting the immigrant community and trying to get those people out of the area. However, we did speak with at least one person from the suburbs of Minneapolis who says that all of this chaos could be deterred if some of these protesters would let these ICE and Border Patrol officers do their job. Take a listen.
I do not want to hear from the lady from the suburbs who says that. Sorry. Before I get into technocracy, I want to look at this article because remember the bovino guy, bovine, the cowman that runs the Department of Homeland Security. He has like some wild shit going on in his past, and I found this interesting article. Let's see. The one of the craziest is like I think his dad killed somebody. Yeah, that is correct. So it's this guy. It's the guy that I'll bring up his picture just so we know. He was on the crew that like attacked those two kids in the Target that worked there and ended up but driving around with them for an hour, beating them up, and then leaving them at a Walmart. So and he has been along with ICE crews that have done some really messed up stuff. So you know that it goes straight to the top. But let's check out this article real quick. Bovino's great-grandfather was an immigrant from Italy who was in the United States for 15 years when he put in his papers indicating his interest in becoming an American. It was the same month in 1924 that the Border Patrol was established, and the number of Italian arrivals was curtailed. So, yeah, basically, he probably applied at that point because he knew that he was going to be judged more harshly if he wasn't, you know? As the public face of President Donald Trump's mass deportation campaign, Bovino has vowed to arrest the worst of immigrants in the country without legal status, including people who drive under the influence of alcohol. His own father went to prison after killing a 26-year-old woman in a drunk driving accident in his North Carolina town. People who knew him growing up remember he was into snakes and knew where to find venomous ones. His inspiration to become a Border Patrol agent came early. That was when he was 11 and saw the 1982 movie The Border starring Jack Nicholson. He didn't like that the agents were the bad guys in the movie. They never do. I saw this thing where people did not understand that Fallout was satire, and they were sharing like a video of this like Liberty Prime big mech like, and they just didn't even realize that it was completely making fun of the kind of society we live in, not like venerating it. I think there's a lot of satire that totally goes over people's heads, and they just get mad that, you know. I've never seen that particular movie though. He wasn't a particularly good wrestler at Watauga High School in Boone, North Carolina, but his teammates voted him most improved senior year. He got a bachelor's degree in natural resource conservation. In 2020, he became chief of the Border Patrol. Okay, let's see if there's anything else juicy in here. He led his agents on deportation missions in the country interior. As Trump's man on the mission, Bovino answers directly to Homeland Security Kristi Noem. He's 55 years old, which puts him 2 years away from mandatory retirement. Okay. Not as juicy as I was expecting, but still interesting nonetheless. But not surprised of his immigrant background because everybody pretty much has one, which is why everything that is happening is all the more ridiculous. But let's check out Technocracy, because this is a big part, I think, of the whole Greenland thing, but I think it goes a lot deeper than that. And my friend Derek made a video. It's like 15 minutes long that I'm gonna put on later once we go through some of this stuff that gets kind of deep into the connections there. And the other interesting thing is in all of these wars that are happening when they're trying to resolve them or like fake resolve them, they keep on saying like we're going to set up a technocratic government, and I think that that's tied into this too. Technocracy is a model of governance wherein decision makers are chosen for office based on their technical expertise and background. A technocracy differs from a traditional democracy in that individuals are selected to a leadership role are chosen through a process that emphasizes their relevant skills and proven performance. That part's important, as opposed to whether or not they fit the majority interest of a popular vote. Proven performance means how much money you have. That's pretty much all it means in this society anyway, in this situation. This system is sometimes presented as explicitly contrasting with representative democracy, the notion that elected representatives should be the primary decision making in government. Despite the fact that technocracy does not imply eliminating elected representatives, in a technocracy, decision makers rely on individuals and institutions possessing specialized knowledge and data-based evidence, rather than advisors with political affiliations or loyalties. Let's see. History of the term. William Henry Smith, a California engineer, is usually credited with inventing the word technocracy in 1919 to describe the rule of the people made effective through the agency of their servants, the scientists and engineers, although the word had been used before on several occasions. Smith used the term technocracy in his 1919 article, Technocracy: Ways and Means to Gain Industrial Democracy, in the journal Industrial Management. Smith's usage referred to industrial democracy, a movement to integrate workers into decision making through existing firms or revolution. Let's see if I can jump to the modern stuff. The technocracy movement, that's what I'm looking for. The American economist and sociologist Thorstein Veblen was an early advocate of technocracy. I'll open that guy up and check him out in a minute. And was involved in the Technical Alliance, as were Howard Scott and M. King Hubbard, the latter of whom developed the theory of peak oil. I'm pretty sure that ended up being bullshit, right? That was like, we're going to run out of oil very soon. Veblen believed technological developments would eventually lead to a socialistic reorganization of economic affairs. Veblen saw socialism as one intermediate phase in an ongoing evolutionary process in society that would be brought about by the natural decay of the business enterprise system. That is quite a mouthful. Daniel Bell sees an affinity between Veblen and the technocracy movement. 1932, Howard Scott and Marion King Hubbard founded Technocracy Incorporated. So it looks like these two have more influence. That Thorstein person was more of just a, I guess you could say influence or inspiration, but these two were the ones that actually put the movement together. Marion King Hubbard and Howard Scott. The group argued that apolitical rational engineers should be vested with the authority to guide an economy into thermodynamically balanced load of production and consumption, thereby doing away with unemployment and debt. So this is the stuff that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and all them dudes love, because they think that they are better than everybody because they both won the birth lottery, and then they won the game of capitalism after the birth lottery because they were both born into extremely rich parents. Actually, not only to rich parents, but rich parents that got their wealth through very exploitative ways. So, and now they think that because they've created these companies and they've made all this money, that they should be able to rule everybody else. And I feel like they've gotten more into this because they've realized that everybody hates them and they can never achieve it through democratic means. I have many criticisms for democracy, obviously, but not in this direction. I have criticisms in the more anarchism direction, but not in the it gives people too much freedom criticism. Let's see. Historian William E. Atkins rejects this conclusion. Instead, Atkin argues that the movement declined in the 1930s due to technocrats' failure to devise a viable political theory. Oh, I missed one. Oh, so some people thought that it declined because of the New Deal, kind of replaced it with a different type of vision. It's popular in the Great Depression. And some say it's just because they did not really deliver any kind of solutions, actually. Critics have suggested that a technocratic divide exists between a governing body controlled by varying extents by technocrats and members of the general public. Technocratic divides are efficiency gaps that persist between governing bodies employing technocratic principles and members of the general public aiming to contribute to government decision making. Technocracy privileges the opinions and viewpoints of technical experts, exalting them into a kind of aristocracy while marginalizing the opinions and viewpoints of the general public. That's an important part for sure, right there. That's another part that appeals to these people, you know. Let's see. As major multinational technology corporations, FANG, swell market caps. Let's see if we can get any current news articles on how this is impacting the Greenland situation. Oh, yeah, I wanted to look at this article. Oh, and look at this. This is a university one. Sometimes the university ones are a little bit too dense. Let's see what we got though. And let's look at these people real quick. Howard Scott, this is the guy that found one of the founders. See if there's anything interesting. I'm not really not seeing anything extra here. I just like to kind of get a feel for like who the people are when they're involved with it. Just like do a quick bio check, you know what I mean? See if anything stands out. He worked at the Shell Research Lab. That's quite interesting. So he was an oil company guy, and that's why he came up with the idea for peak oil. Because he wanted to drive up the price, most likely. Or make people think that it was more rare than it was, so the price was stabilized. Yeah, that's some scam shit. And if he's working for oil companies, that's also pretty sus. Let's look back at this news article here, because this is quite interesting. The is the map in here? Yeah, look at this. So this right here is the map of the United States that the technocratic people, the technocratic movement from way back in the day had projected for the future of the United States. And you're thinking, like, if this is the 1930s and stuff, so this is like there's still relatively positive views about colonialism and stuff like that. I pretty sure, because I don't think that was really seen as a bad thing, at least until after World War II. And even then, they probably just changed the justifications a little bit. But the thing about this is you see Greenland there, you see Canada, you see all of Central America, and the top of South America there. which is Venezuela, right? Then you got Cuba, who Trump has also threatened. Then you got Mexico, who Trump has also threatened. And Panama, he's threatened over the Panama Canal. And there are some other South or Central American countries in there, of course, El Salvador, Honduras. There may be regimes in there that are a little bit more compliant, I guess you could say. I'm not sure. But regardless, you got Greenland in there too. And Canada, which Trump has talked repeatedly about making the 51st state. So I like this is kind of crazy, honestly. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to suggest that Trump is looking at this map and wants to make this map a reality. Especially because we know that Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, all those guys, all of his big founders, including JD Vance. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. And I think that's in the video that I'm going to share as well, is that, you know, they were all really into this, and they have pretty much incubated JD Vance. And yeah, I mean, he definitely looks very, he doesn't look very powerful in the administration from the outside, but I do think he has a lot of influence. And yeah, what do you think about, I want to check up on the chat and see. Thank you. Thanks for the, appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just catching up on the chat. Yeah, I think that, oh yeah, I can't even, let me switch, so yeah, you can see there when I take away the screen that it's Venezuela in that map as well. So all of those countries have pretty much been threatened by Trump, except for maybe Belize or something, and El Salvador, who he's already got on his payroll. So that's a pretty wild one, I think. Let's see. What happened? Oh, okay. There we go. Maybe this this article will tell us a little bit about Elon Musk's involvement. These ideas seem to resonate with the most recent statements from the Trump administration about merging the U.S. with Canada. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, set up by Trump and led by billionaire Elon Musk, has also outlined a vision of efficiency cuts by slashing bureaucracy jobs and getting rid of leaders of organizations and civil servants he thinks are advancing woke values. This slash and burn approach also fits with some of the ideas of technocrats. In February, Musk said, we really have here the rule of bureaucracy as opposed to the rule of the people, democracy. The technocrats viewed elected politicians as incompetent. They advocated replacing them with experts in science and engineering who would be objectively manage resources for the benefit of society. So this was written in March of last year. So this was when the Doge stuff was happening and when Trump was making Canada threats. So the Greenland thing hadn't really come into view yet. The Venezuela thing hadn't really come into view yet. But the Canada 51st state talk was definitely enough to get a couple of articles written about this. So let's see. Most of this we know. Technocrats also believe that mechanism and automation. Trying to find some actual connections here. But are we seeing a rebirth of some of these kinds of ideas in 2025? Musk has a familial connection with the movement, so is likely to be aware of it. His maternal grandfather, Joshua N. Helderman, was a notable figure in the technocracy movement in Canada during the 1930s and 1940s. All right, that's pretty crazy. Musk's ventures, such as the electric car giant Tesla and his space program, SpaceX, and neurology company Neuralink, prioritize innovation and automation, which aligns with the technocrats' vision of optimizing human civilization through scientific and technological means. What Trump would disagree with. Okay. Let's see. This one was written around the same time, and they're talking about merging the US with both Canada and Greenland in this. See if I could go through for any mentions. Oh, this is the same thing. All right, well, let me jump to this video. I think this is some of the best information out there on technocracy. Derek has a book out on that too, Technocracy. I think it's in the title. I'm just trying to pull up my playlist here. Oh, all right, it's here. Yeah, and I 3 books with him as well. The Conscious Resistance trilogy. The blue book behind me. Let's see.
Technocrat. Let's dive in. In the early 20th century, a movement began to develop around a political theory known as technocracy, a system wherein management of governments is handled by technical experts, often involving technology-focused solutions. Early proponents of technocracy claimed that the concept would lead to better management of resources and the protection of the planet. However, this system of governance by technological experts and their technology would also involve the loss of privacy, as well as centralization of power and the management of all human behavior. Although the term appears to have been largely forgotten, the technocratic philosophy and influence can be seen everywhere in our modern digital world.
Already beginning to arrive at the huge civic auditorium, where a large receptive audience turned out to hear Howard Scott as he warned of an impending crisis in America.
He got some really rare footage for this. I don't know how he tracked all this down. This was well done.
Domestic and foreign affairs.
One of the most influential proponents of technocracy was a man named Howard Scott, a writer who founded the Technical Alliance in New York City in 1919. Scott believed that business owners lacked the necessary skills and data to reform their industry, and thus, control should be handed over to engineers. The technocrats publicized their vision of a centrally planned world via books, speeches, clubs, and political parties. This resulted in a brief period of popularity in the US and Canada in the years following the Great Depression.
This was published 10 months ago, by the way, this video.
Politicians and economists searched for a solution to the financial calamity, the technocrats imagined a world where politicians and business owners were replaced with scientists, engineers, and other technical experts who would manage the economy. However, in the 1940s, mainstream interest in the technocracy movement seemed to dissipate. The ideas that underpinned the technocratic vision received a notable endorsement in 1970 when political scientist Zbigniew Brzezinski released his book, Between Two Ages, America's Role in the Technotronic Era. Brzezinski will be familiar to long-term researchers of the ruling elite. Until his death in 2018, Brzezinski was a diplomat who ran in the same circles as David Rockefeller and former Secretary of State and accused war criminal Henry Kissinger.
And this guy wrote books about foreign policy. This is by Derek Brose of Conscious Resistance. I'll share the link. He's a good friend of mine. We wrote a couple books together. But yeah, this guy is Zbigniew Brzezinski. he has written many, many books where he like says the quiet part out loud about US foreign policy and about how it's all like a power game, it's all a resource game, and he just says it out in the open in all these books. And his daughter is a host on uh MSNBC now, I think. Um yeah, she's on that Morning Joe show. She's like the co-host. She's like his daughter, and he was like the CIA guy. Which author guy?
Brzezinski served as advisor to several presidents, from Jimmy Carter to Barack Obama. He was also a member of the Atlantic Council, the National Endowment for Democracy, and the Council on Foreign Relations. Although Brzezinski's book Between Two Ages substituted the term technotronic
It's a journalist, like an independent journalist.
for technocratic, the depiction of the future is the same: a world in which the scientific and technological elite centrally plan the lives of all humanity. Essentially, Brzezinski's vision is a technologically advanced, authoritarian-style collectivism wherein individual liberties are subordinated to the apparent needs of the collective. When we examine the world of 2025, we clearly see the signs of technocratic influence. For example, we can see this influence in the wealthiest companies and the most influential CEOs. These individuals are running companies that have amassed large amounts of financial wealth as well as unfathomable amounts of digital data on all of their customers. From Jeff Bezos at Amazon, Bill Gates of Microsoft, Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, Elon Musk of Tesla and SpaceX, we can see the technocratic ideology. These men and their colleagues in various technological industries wield immense power through their companies, wealth, and cultural influence. These individuals have enough money, resources, and connections to shape elections, geoengineer the climate, and cause dips in the stock market, to name a few examples. They are the technocratic class of 2025. Who is Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel is the infamous co-founder of Palantir, the private surveillance firm with a long history of involvement and collaboration with the CIA. Thiel is also a steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group, the infamously secretive group which represents the interests of the hidden ruling class. In the second Trump administration, Thiel's influence is more visible than ever, as numerous associates and acolytes of his are set to play various influential roles. Thiel has a long history of supporting the two-time president.
Tonight, I urge all of my fellow Americans to stand up and vote for Donald Trump.
An examination of Donald Trump's cabinet reveals many connections to Thiel.
Thank you very much.
Derek is like one of the only conspiracy dudes that still goes after Trump.
Vice President J.D. Vance. Despite not giving directly to the 2024 campaign, Thiel has gained well-deserved scrutiny for his role in financing the rise of Vice President J.D. Vance. Vance, the 40-year-old former senator from Ohio, was in attendance at former COO of PayPal David Sachs' June 24 fundraiser for Trump. According to two people with knowledge of the exchange, during this June event, Trump informally polled the room regarding who he should choose for vice presidential running mate. David Sachs and others in attendance all told Trump he should choose Vance. Elon Musk also reportedly encouraged Trump to pick Vance. And a few weeks later, at the 2024 Republican National Convention, that's exactly what Donald Trump did. Thiel and Vance have an extensive relationship. Vance claims that after hearing Peter Thiel deliver a speech at Yale Law School in 2011, he was inspired to pursue a career in big tech firms. He started as a junior investor with the Thiel-backed Mithril Capital in 2016. Vance briefly worked at biotech firm Circuit Therapeutics, a move which then CEO Frederick Moll told the New York Times was, quote, a favor to Peter. In 2019, Vance would found his own venture firm, Narya Capital, with financial backing from the former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, the billionaire investor Mark Andreessen, and of course, Peter Thiel.
It is wild how fast JD Vance rose to power, and and got in the good graces of all of these crazy billionaires, and then and then ended up becoming vice president. Um, from writing a weird ass book about growing up in Appalachia and having a family addicted to drugs, it's very, very weird. Um, his path, it's just bizarre. I think he might even be younger than me, which is really fucked up.
When
Well,
Vance announced his run for Ohio Senator, Peter Thiel was there and gave $15 million to the campaign. With this money, Vance was able to secure a victory, and within 2 years, he was on the way to the White House with the full support of Peter Thiel and the Technocrats.
Nah, he's got 1 year on me.
Elon Musk. While Musk is a powerful and influential technocrat in his own right, he and Thiel have their own history.
I don't think that JD Vance can wield the Republican base. I don't think so at all. He's been very good at playing the power game of politics, but he can't, like, even the right wingers hate him. And with the way that he has dug in on Trump, he's gonna have the same problem that Kamala Harris did. So, like, when Kamala Harris was trying to run, she was still in Biden's administration, and people wanted something different. And she kept on saying everything we're doing is great. And JD Vance is going to be in the same situation in a couple of years when he's going to have to answer for the administration's record if he tries to um run, and he will. But that is not even to get to started talking on his complete lack of charisma. So there's that too. But yeah, I don't think that he's gonna be able to take it over. And really, I can't think of anybody who can right now. Who can, and that is why you see so much infighting right now, and why they're all ripping each other apart, because there is they see a gap, they see a power vacuum. Unfortunately, in 10 years, I could see somebody like Nick Fuentes running and winning if these trends continue. Hopefully they don't continue, but I do see that being a possibility for sure.
Of collaboration. Musk and Thiel have been friends for more than 2 decades, and both men received massive financial wealth from their co-founding of PayPal. Thiel has also been a prominent investor in Musk's various ventures, including Neuralink. Musk.
Yeah, the Democrats are probably going to try to shove Gavin down people's throats. Gavin or Pete Buttigieg instead of AOC. I'm sure of it. It'll be interesting to see how that goes down.
Musk and Peter Thiel also co-founded America PAC as their vehicle to support Trump's return to the White House. As promised, Trump nominated Musk to lead the Department of Government Efficiency. And while the idea of reducing government waste and increasing efficiency is an appealing proposition, it should also be noted that Musk's talk of efficiency is reminiscent of the little-known efficiency movement, which predated the more well-known technocracy movement. The efficiency movement sought to identify and eliminate waste in all areas of economy and society, and to develop and implement best practices. Supporters of this movement included Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. Is the goal of Trump and Musk?
Yeah, that is true about a lot of the people in the media being, if not just nepo babies for intelligence agencies or billionaires. Like, and what's it? Anderson Cooper, he's a Vanderbilt, I think. And just, or I think I'm not sure. He's 100% related to the Vanderbilts. I don't know if his last name is supposed to be Vanderbilt or if it was by marriage or something, but he's definitely in the family for sure.
To make government more efficient to serve the people?
We're going to make the future good. We're going to make it good.
Or is the goal to finally fulfill the dream of the original technocrats and eliminate the political and business classes in favor of machines, artificial intelligence, central planning, and managing society? David Sachs. Sachs is most well known for his involvement in the early days of PayPal, serving as the COO with Thiel as the CEO. He is considered a member of the so-called PayPal Mafia, a name given to the founders of PayPal, who later founded numerous tech companies, including Tesla, LinkedIn, Palantir, SpaceX, YouTube, and Yelp.
It would be cool to do like a deep dive on the PayPal Mafia sometime. Maybe that could be one of the videos that I work on and map out their connections to each other, but not just that, but their connections to intelligence operations and intelligence agencies, because there's a lot of them. And these are the people who own the internet essentially, because PayPal was the first business to really make money on the internet. And not only did they do that, they enabled every other company on the internet to make money too, which, so once that happened, they had all the money in the world to invest in every single internet company that was coming on board. And yeah, that is why they own the internet now.
In June 2024, it was Sachs who hosted a fundraiser for Trump at his home in San Francisco. It was this dinner where the billionaires told Trump he should choose Vance as his running mate. Shortly after his victory in the 2024 election, Trump rewarded Sachs for his loyalty by appointing him as the AI and crypto czar. In this position, Sachs is expected to greatly influence the US government's policies on cryptocurrency and the advancement of AI. Howard Lutnick.
I ain't gonna ban you from the chat just for saying dumb shit. I've been to foreign countries, dude, and they're nice. I don't know. Like, have you ever been to a foreign country talking like that? Because I've been to a couple of them and they're all quite nice and, would be just fine to live in. Well, yeah. But now you could talk shit all you want. It helps the algorithm, so I don't mind. What? I don't understand the undercover gay thing. But yeah. Who wants this? I don't want a civil war, that's for damn sure. I just want people to be free. Even people who were born in different places.
Lutnick is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald investment firm and has become a vocal proponent for Bitcoin in the last couple years. Trump recently nominated him to be U.S. Commerce Secretary.
This was Jeffrey Epstein's next door neighbor.
Lutnick is also an investor in Strive Asset Management, which was founded by Vivek Ramaswamy. Peter Thiel, the Founders Fund, and J.D. Vance's Narya Capital also contributed to Strive's $30 million funding round. Lutnick is also part owner of video platform Rumble, founded by Chris.
Oh, I understand what you mean. Yeah, the Republican Party being very DL and self-hating, and yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Pavlovsky. In December 2021, Pavlovsky announced his intention to take Rumble public by combining forces with CF Acquisition Corp., a division of Lutnick's Cantor Fitzgerald. Lutnick was also formerly a neighbor to Jeffrey Epstein in New York City and raised millions of dollars for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Lutnick has spoken at the World Economic Forum's various meetings as far back as 2016 and as recently as January 2023. Jim O'Neill. Donald Trump has appointed Jim O'Neill as Deputy Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. O'Neill has extensive connections and collaborations with Peter Thiel. O'Neill worked at two of Peter Thiel's funds, Clarium Capital and Mithril Capital Management, from 2012 to 2019. In 2010, he co-founded Peter Thiel's Thiel Fellowship. He also worked as the CEO of the Thiel Foundation.
We found so many things connected to the Thiel Fellowship, and what else was it? His Founders Fund. That was it. The Founders Fund and the Thiel Fellowship. How many internet companies he controls through that?
From 2009 to 2012. From 2019 to July 2021, O'Neill was the CEO of SENS Research Foundation, an organization focused on rejuvenation. The SENS Foundation received its initial funding from Peter Thiel in 2006 and 2008, a fact that should come as no surprise given Thiel's own interest in fighting aging using the blood of the young. Ken Howry. Trump named Ken Howry as his pick for the U.S. ambassador to the Kingdom of Denmark. Howry previously served as a U.S. ambassador to Sweden. The connections between Howry, Peter Thiel, and the World Economic Forum run deep. Apparently, Trump sees these connections as a net positive. Howry was another PayPal co-founder with Thiel. The pair also co-founded the venture capital fund, Founders Fund. In March 2012, the World Economic Forum named Howry as a member of the Young Global Leader program. He is also a member of the selection committee for the World Economic Forum's Technology Pioneers program. Howry may have been selected for the role of ambassador to Denmark to help Trump fulfill his goal of annexing Greenland. Denmark has administrative control over Greenland as part of its kingdom. It's interesting that Trump's calls for purchasing Greenland and making it part of the United States literally mirror the original technocrats' plan for the technate of America, including Mexico, Canada, and Panama as well.
This was 10 months ago. I didn't even really realize that he was talking about Greenland that long ago. I knew he was talking about Canada, but I didn't know that Greenland was, I mean, I know it's ramped up significantly recently, but this shit is so crazy.
Jacob Hellberg. Jacob Hellberg was appointed to be Undersecretary of State for Economic Growth, Energy, and the Environment. Hellberg donated $2 million to Donald Trump's 2024 presidential campaign. He is an ardent supporter of Israel and a former supporter of Democrats who has said that his shift to Trump was a result of Democrats becoming, quote, anti-Israel. Hellberg is also a senior advisor to Palantir Technologies, the private surveillance firm co-founded by Peter Thiel. Hellberg is also a senior advisor to Alex Karp, Peter Thiel's co-founder and current CEO of Palantir Technologies, and a fellow Bilderberg steering committee member. Donald Trump has named Michael Kratsios to serve as a science advisor and director of the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy. Kratsios was the first Trump administration's policy specialist on artificial intelligence, drones, quantum computing, and cybersecurity. Kratsios worked for two of Peter Thiel's funds, Thiel Capital and Clarium Capital. It is abundantly clear that the second Trump administration is stacked with allies of Peter Thiel, the technocrat and steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group. One final point worth noting relates to Palantir's blind support for Israel and the Zionist cause. In November 2023, Palantir issued a letter to shareholders that stressed the company's support for Israel's quest to ethnically cleanse Palestinians. Quote, "We are one of the few companies in the world to stand up and announce our support for Israel, which remains steadfast. Palantir stands with Israel." Thiel has also made it clear he will not interfere in Israel's crimes and has no qualms supplying technology which leads to civilian deaths. First, in January 2024, Palantir announced that it had signed a strategic partnership with the Israeli Defense Ministry to supply technology for the genocide. In May 2024, protesters accused Thiel of complicity in genocide, blocking his vehicles for over an hour while he was speaking at the Cambridge Union. Over 200 students gathered outside the Cambridge Union, attempting to drown out Thiel's talk. When Thiel was directly questioned,
I put them on timeout because they were being like a little bit crazy
about his support of Israel and their use of AI technology to murder humans, he gave a rambling non-answer.
So what do you think about the use of artificial intelligence or lavender by the IDF in identifying Hamas targets? And secondly, do you agree with Elon Musk about that the population decline is a risk for humanity?
Look,
I remember this.
Again, I'm not, without going into all the, I'm not on top of all the details of what's going on in Israel because my bias is to defer to Israel.
Given that Thiel and company are willing to turn a blind eye to the crimes of Israel, it should come as no surprise that Trump's second cabinet is stacked with former and current associates of Thiel's who also share the zeal for Zionism and technocracy. While these troubling facts may be disturbing to MAGA, these connections need to be questioned. If we are ever to defeat the so-called deep state, we must commit ourselves to opposing techno-tyranny, no matter which political party, politician, or billionaire is promoting it.
Yeah, so that is like one of the he's been one of the only people that's been covering this technocracy issue for like years. I think he put out his book on it a couple of years ago. So yeah, definitely check his channel out, The Conscious Resistance. But yeah, that was a wild chatter. I accidentally shared his comment on screen. Luckily, it wasn't one of the like really you know, really wild ones. When I was trying to like give him a timeout just because he was spamming, you know what I mean? Like I'm all about people sharing their points of view, but it was getting distracting, and I feel like taking away from genuine conversation. Um, I hope he gets help because you know that angry on a Saturday night, man. Chill out. And you're not even angry about the right shit. If you're gonna be angry about the right shit. Um, not just some people talking on the internet. But yeah, I think that was most of what I had. Let me see if there was anything else. I have another video coming up pretty soon about government drug smuggling and everything involved with that. I was kind of like inspired to do that because of the whole Maduro thing and all this bombing Venezuela for drugs. Um, I figured it was a good time to revisit this idea of how the government controls the drug trade, and they're at the top of it. They arrest everybody at the bottom of it because they want to control the people, and they also want to control who sells the drugs. Um, the best kind of business is the kind where you could constantly lock up your competition and throw them away anytime. So I lay that out in my next video. If you haven't seen my newest video, the Cold War was World War III. I've been working on that for a while, and it is a concept that I've been kind of talking about for a while. So I'm very excited to get that out. And, it was a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun with this channel. Like, even though it's really small right now and I'm just doing my thing, um, I'm having a blast. I think it's cool. People are down to join and be a part of it. And I'm like trying to I'm learning how to figure out new things with video and just how to edit it better and how to kind of tell these stories in this way, because I've been writing books I put my first book out in 2012, and it's a whole different kind of thing. Like, I write the scripts first for these long form videos, and then I put the visual tracks in there later. But it's a whole different tone you got to take and a whole different way of writing that I'm figuring out, but I like it. It's a lot of fun, and I think that it's just a better way to communicate these days because people just don't read as much, and it's understandable. I don't even read as much. I do a lot of audiobooks. But yeah, thanks a lot, y'all. It's been cool. I hope y'all have a good Saturday night, and I will catch you tomorrow. Feel free to reach out on socials if you see anything interesting that you think I should be covering, because I'm not really sure what I got going on for tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll catch everybody later. Peace.